Hi, and welcome to What Women and Men Need to Know. Today, my guest is no stranger if you're viewing because you've seen him before. Not here, but there. And that is at WTVC TV.
That's right.
In Chattanooga. And that's Channel 9. If you don't know the call letters, that's Channel 9.
News Channel 9.
News
right?
Channel 9 in Chattanooga. He is the senior meteorologist there. And he is your weatherman. Most sought after, most talked about in many ways.
Yeah.
Either applauded or not.
Yeah, these days
on,
talked about a lot. Yeah,
yes.
for the weather.
Depending on what your event is and whether he told you the right things about that day or not, but he can only tell you what he sees, and he's going to tell us today. I asked him to bring his crystal ball and tell us why we're having summer and winter and summer
Sure.
and spring and fall and spring and everything else he can tell us about weather. But David, thank you for coming and welcome to Northwest Georgia.
Thank you, Helen. Glad to be here. I appreciate the invitation. This is like home to me because I grew
Yes.
up just down the road there in Chickamauga. So.
And lives just up the road there.
Yeah,
so
I
he's
live
just, right at
just
home.
on Missionary Ridge,
Yeah.
so I'm not too far away from here. So call me anytime. I can tumble down the ridge and
That's right. Roll
chat
right
about
on
weather.
in,
That's right.
and he's
That's
going
right.
to enlighten us today. So, if you have pressing questions, you have something you want to know, this is the man. This is the weatherman.
I'll attempt to answer that.
That's right.
As best I can.
Even though we don't have a green board nor a blue board, we were just
That's okay.
talking about before we went on the air. That he would be projecting onto. He's going to be projecting to you today. So if you have questions about anything as basic as you might think is no stupid questions here, but anything that you might know or want to know or not be sure about how it happens, David is the man. So please give us a call at 7712 or 7646 and ask David, because he can answer these when he's actually giving you the weather.
Right, that's true.
But he can he can take that question and answer it today, maybe about yesterday's forecast or maybe about the coming day's forecast, because it is a varied bag of temperatures, David.
Right. The next week is going to have basically two seasons in it. We're still going to be, today's kind of gloomy. It'll get better as the day goes on. But, tomorrow, Friday, we're back in the mid-70s. Then we got a front coming in. That'll knock on our door Friday night late. I mean, a lot of us will be awakened by the wind picking up, some thunder and lightning. And then all of a sudden when the weekend gets here, it's going to feel cold. But that chill's normal. So it'll be a normal weekend. It's just going to feel a lot worse because of how warm it's been.
Because we've been having summer.
Exactly. I've been having I spent 8 years working at the NBC affiliate in Pensacola, Mobile. So I spent about 8.5 years on the Gulf Coast. And this was what our winters were like. You get cold, then it'd be warm, then there'd be rain. And so I'm sort of having flashbacks to that. Mm-hmm. And even up here, every now and then growing up here, there's been a couple of them that stick out as far as a warm one. But the chances are next year the chill is going to come back. I don't think this is the new norm, anything like that. It's just that we've had a warm pattern that dates back to last winter, but it'll probably be a little colder by next winter. So if you don't like the chill, hey, enjoy it.
That's right.
So it's made my job a little bit easier this winter. It's always busy, so I'll take it. But there's always March coming up, and March is very. It's the weirdest month of any year, okay? Because you can have, like we're having this week, you have a warm day offset by a cold day, and all of a sudden a 6-hour period where you have snow showers coming down. And we all talk about 93 in March. We all remember that one. That was one of the more exceptional marches. But there have been many other marches where you have, cold snaps that are really cold, even a little bit of snow here and there. So I don't ever close the door or close the window on winter just yet till probably the first week or two of April.
You were talking about March being kind of a changeable month and unpredictable. My birthday's in March. And my birthday was the week of the blizzard.
Oh, no.
In 90, I have a birthday that same time every year, but in 93,
93?
it had been beautiful
That's
on
right.
my birthday. and then we had the blizzard at the end of the week.
Right.
So when you were talking, David and I were talking off before we started the show about how things are not really so different. We just kind of forget. And my mother told me that the year I was born, and we won't go into that.
Sure.
But the year I was born, which was many years ago, I was born and the weather changed and became so bad. It started snowing, and the doctor was afraid that I wouldn't be able to get home.
Oh, wow.
So they sent me home sooner than I would have been, in the day. You had to stay for a week or so.
Sure.
But I was sent home by ambulance.
Wow.
Because the front that was coming in was
Yep.
predicted to be so bad with so much snow, and that was in Alabama, but that was because of the weather conditions being
Yep.
so bad, and that was many years ago. So you see,
Sure.
things do
It
happen.
comes back
still.
full circle. It does go in cycles, and March is like that. I can remember my birthday was just a couple of days ago, and I often joke with my wife that more often than not, for late February, you think, oh, you're used to cold birthdays. No, pretty much I could always count on late February when my birthday was, that more often than not it was warm.
Yes.
So, and a couple of days ago was no exception.
Right.
That it was warm.
It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, so I'm kind of used to that, but March can be very changeable. I mean, we've seen that so many times in the past. I think the latest time it's ever snowed here, if anybody wants, in fact, I won't say it, just think in the back of your mind, the latest that it's ever snowed in Chattanooga might surprise you. It wasn't in the month of March. It wasn't in the month of April.
Oh, it
I mean,
was.
well, actually, it was in the month of April,
Okay.
but it was in early April. A lot of folks may remember April 3rd of 87. We had about 4 inches of snow. That wasn't the latest. You got to go all the way back to 1910, April 25th, 5 days before the month of May begins, and there was 4 inches of snow in Chattanooga on April 25th, 1910.
Wow.
So, and I'm a believer that if something's happened once, it can happen again. May not be the same year. In this case, it's been almost 100 years, but eventually that'll happen again.
We probably don't
You know.
have any viewers who remember,
No,
remember that either.
or maybe their
so.
grandparents talked about it, but it can happen again. And the same thing goes. People ask me, "Oh, we gonna get another blizzard like '93?" We could. It just happened once. It could eventually happen
Right.
again. It's one of those anomalies that happen every year, but it could.
Thank
I know a lot of
goodness.
school kids are like, "Yay, I want that," but those of us adults had to work in that.
Say no.
I don't want that. There was a lot of people without power during that, and I don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid, some folks may remember this, 73, January 73, the huge ice storm we had here in northwest Georgia. That was a crippling ice storm. We were without power for days, a lot of folks for weeks. But, as time goes by, that's been 44 years since that happened. And the longer these gaps happen, the chances of it coming back full circle can happen again.
Yeah.
So I've been surprised that we've not had a big ice storm as of yet, but I'm always fearful of that.
I was at Auburn. I went to school at Auburn.
Oh, wow.
And there were kids there who had never seen snow.
Oh, yeah.
And class was dismissed, and everyone was having
Right.
a great time. We did hear that there was ice. We did not have ice there. We just had the snow.
Just had the snow.
But it was such a phenomenon to look out and see snow coming down
Yeah.
out the classroom window. So the best thing was just to let
them out,
everybody go outside and
play.
play in the snow.
Yeah, I'll take snow any day over ice.
Yeah, but that was a big day when the
Yeah.
snow fell.
Absolutely. I went to school not far from the Jacksonville State.
Yes.
So I was about an hour and a half
Yeah.
north of there.
Right.
So hey, I have some stats here I was going to share. Because
Okay.
since we're talking about winter, I have to put on the
That's
glasses
just because
here.
he just had a birthday.
Yeah, you get the old arm extension here. But I wanted to share this about, we were talking about this past winter and how warm it is. And when we look at patterns and we compare to the averages, we always have to look back on several seasons. We have to look at the long range averages.
Right.
So one season doesn't mean everything's sort of changed one way or another. It's just another step, and then we add that on to the next season. But this is what was really interesting. I looked at the numbers. The past 5 winters, you just take a chunk of 5 years, we've had 3 that were warmer than average, including this one, and 2 that were colder than average. They were back-to-back winters of 14 and winters of 15. So the snowfall, if you add up all the snowfall from the past 5 winters, we had a total of 19 inches.
Wow.
So that includes, I think there was in 2014, there was 8.7 and around 9 inches in 2015. But in the years surrounding that, including this year, it's only been less than a half inch. But here's what's interesting. If you take the past 5 winters, the total snow is 19 inches for a 5-year average of 3.8 inches. Our normal average snowfall, 3.9. So if you were to take in a 5-year chunk and looked at the numbers, run the numbers, we've been pretty much average.
We're still average.
Exactly. So 2 winters with extreme snowfall are offset by others with no snowfall. That's what we average. It's a low snowfall anyway. But this February so far, the average temperature is 49.1, which is 5.6 degrees above average. Surprisingly, it's not the record, and it's far from it. The record February is 53.9 back in 1890. It was even warmer then. Again, probably nobody around from that time period, but it's happened before. And just running a quick scan of some of these warm Februaries that are similar to this one, including 1890, there was a similarly warm February in 1954. They were all followed by a colder than normal March. Now, we'll have to see if this one follows in line. The early indications are to be kind of up and down month, kind of near average, which means near average is probably going to feel colder to us.
Because we've
not been average, yeah.
No.
But it's been interesting that all of those above were followed by colder than average Marches. So we just have to see if that follows in line. Is that a real trend? Because we as humans look at months, bounded by 30-day chunks and seasons that are bounded by 3-month chunks. But in the world of weather, I mean, if you've got a 3-week delay or a 3-week early surge of weather, that's just, what goes on up there doesn't know year boundaries and month boundaries. How we have them all, we like to keep them all separate in seasons and years.
Right.
But in weather, sometimes it can go either direction. In this case, we've got things blooming about 3 weeks early. But I can remember just 3 or 4 years ago, we had all that snow. Things were blooming extremely late in early April. So
yes.
it can go both ways. But the plants, they just respond to the sun angle increasing, the soil temperature being warm, and every now and then this happens.
They're not on a calendar.
They're not. Yeah, they're not.
They
so
just respond to the conditions of the atmosphere and the soil.
Right. And I worry that with things blooming, trees we can't really protect, maybe the smaller ones, but our average date for a last freeze and frost is the early to mid stage of April. So we still got another 6 weeks that these bloomers could be in a bit of danger. So it may be a long 6 weeks of watching the temperatures and being mindful of
covering and uncovering.
Yeah, and it may be that it waits until April for that to happen, but it can. So, and I've seen enough of these and crazy weather in March that March, you have to respect it.
Yes, you absolutely do.
Things happen.
I remember in that snow we had in 80, did you say 80, was it 87?
Yeah, early April of 87, yeah.
I bought shorts and sunglasses that day, and that evening,
Yep.
it snowed.
It snowed. It was on a Thursday into a Friday.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, and I had a class that night, and there were no windows, and you couldn't see, and when the class was over, it was like,
What is
okay,
this?
Can I get home? I'm not sure if
Exactly.
I can get home. So
It was about 4 inches of snow during that.
yes,
when that happened.
and it was quite the shock because in the day it was not really
Yeah.
cold. So, and sometimes there's not enough time to be forewarned.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially when it's in spring, a lot of times
Yeah.
it'll be something that's very quick to happen.
Yes, yes. 7646. Go ahead.
Okay, the groundhogs predicted early spring in this
Yeah.
area, and I
That's a good question. She's referring to a Chattanooga.
Hang up and listen.
Okay.
Yeah, she's referring to Chattanooga Chuck over the aquarium. And old Chuck has had a pretty good
His
run.
track record is
Yeah, I'm trying to think if the last two were early springs. I want to say he said it 3 times. Yeah. So I would say Chuck's had a pretty good run the past couple of years. It's been a little bit better than Phil up in Pennsylvania. But then again, that's for the Northeast.
yeah.
I think there's one in Atlanta that calls for an early spring every year. Yeah, you can always count on it. It's just like, okay, early spring. But when it's Atlanta, you can kind of say, compared to the rest of the country, you can always say it was early spring. So it's one of those never can be wrong things.
Right.
But I'm just going from what I remember with Chuck past 3 years, and yeah, it's been pretty good.
And what is there? What scientific attachment is there to the groundhog besides just the event?
Yeah, the folklore.
Yeah.
Oh, the folklore always went that if you're having nice weather on the midpoint of winter, then it's going to be bad the rest of the winter because it shouldn't be warm. So in other words, if the groundhog pops out of the hole and sees a shadow, it's obviously a sunny day. He's going to duck back in because he knows cold weather's coming. But on the flip side, if the weather's really bad, well, maybe spring will come a little bit early. So that's how that starts. But it's funny if you've noticed when they do a lot of these groundhog events, they pull the groundhog out of these
It's
stumps.
like, I'm not coming out willing.
And the message is already pre-written.
Right, yeah.
So if you ask if there's any meteorology behind it, there probably is. There may be a team of meteorologists that have a forecast set. They give it, proclaim it as what the groundhog said, obviously, and go from there. So there is some meteorology behind it, but there's also a whole lot of fun behind it.
Yeah.
Because we all look forward to that. Because usually in early February, it's kind of boring in January and
Right.
February. So we look forward to that, and either boo or yay, whatever happens.
Right.
It's always fun.
It is.
I like it because it gets everyone interested in weather. So that's always a lot of fun.
And sometimes we aren't interested in weather until it's something that that affects us in
Oh, yeah.
our own personal life, something we're doing or something that's going to affect our trip or our event or something.
Right.
We just, go right on through. And
Right. We worry about that one day.
Yeah.
Weddings, prime example. I'll get emails from folks, and they'll want to know, this is in November. I'm having a wedding in June. What's the weather looking like? And I mean, there's no way to know. The best you
so
can
how in
do
the
is look
world
at
do
the
you
averages.
answer that?
Well, what I say is, I can give you what the average temperatures are for that week. So you can kind of give an idea of what temperatures could be. But as far as rainfall, there's just no way of knowing. And I remember when we were planning our wedding back in '92, and we were having our reception outside. You talk about pressure.
Oh,
I did not want a pop-up thunderstorm going on because I would never hear the end of it.
never.
So we were proactive. We had tents for shade more of anything because it was in early July. So it planned out well. The tents worked well for the shade and didn't rain. So, but I have a lot of people who ask that, and I have to just tell them, well, it's kind of hard, and then I'll get from the same people a call about a week and a half later that, I'm checking out all these apps, and one app says this, and one app says that. What do you think? And so I have to throw my 2 cents worth in there.
Where I live in a valley.
Yeah.
And there are mountains around, and the rainfall is always so interesting. You can just draw a line across the road in
Sure.
a certain place. It will rain right there, and the rain goes around and continues.
Right. Summer showers are like that, really.
Yeah, it is so interesting the way the rainfall occurs.
Yeah, it can be raining in your front yard and dry in the back.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting.
How does that happen?
That happens. Well, and it's one of those cases when especially in the summertime, when you have thunderstorms popping up, they'll have one rain shaft coming down, and it's just being gradually pushed along. So it's just like having a big faucet moving along, and unlike a cold front that has rain spread over the entire area, it's just one isolated spot. And so as the wind just pushes it on along, it's just a very narrow swath of where it's raining heavily and where it's not raining at all.
and when it goes past, it's gone.
That's it. Yeah. And we're about to get into that phase, more toward May, June, July. So we're kind of around the corner from that. But these days, especially in March, we have to be mindful of a lot of rain, which is something we've not seen a lot of the past year and a half, being so dry. But we know if you go back to past Marches around here, we've had many times it flooded. Like back to 73 again, March of 73, huge floods that led to the construction of the Brainerd Levee. So again, everything goes back to March as far as weird weather. But
So you think that's a real pivotal month?
it is really, yeah, I think it really is, because it's you've got the warmth now already moving in, but you still got the cold air that wants to come back in and battle. So that's why you can have severe weather, winter weather, summer weather. March is a four-season kind of month.
Okay, 7712, go ahead with your question.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, David. Glad to see I watch your news every day.
Thanks.
You know, I want to ask you something, but talking about March, do you think that the cold weather through the winter is up above and it meets the warm weather coming in on March, causes all this maybe storms, hurricanes, and snow?
Yeah, in this case, and I don't have a map behind me, but what's happened this past winter is that the high pressures have anchored themselves off the southeast coast. So because of that, it's pumped a lot of Gulf moisture and Gulf warmth right over us. But it's really been isolated to us. A lot of the country is above average, but if you look at the Northeast, they've had a lot of snow. Not really cold, but a lot of snow. Parts of the Great Lakes have been colder. So yes, in a sense, the high pressures have pushed the warmth over us, have kept everything pushed, it's strong enough to push it away, but not every winter's like that. As far as the upcoming hurricane season, I'm not sure that's going to have an effect on it. Yes, coastal waters are warm. You got to have coastal waters are at least 78 degrees to sustain the latent heat that keeps hurricanes going. But we've got a building El Nino possibly occurring as we head into late spring and summer. And if that's the case, which could be a weak one, El Ninos tend to keep a lower number of hurricanes around. But with that said, all it takes is one to make it a really bad season. So we'll have to see what effects the El Nino has. But yeah, the one thing he was mentioning is the heat going on. The one thing I do fear about March and April is the risk of severe weather. You know, so much heat around and cold air still trying to come in, you're going to get the risk of severe weather. And one such case, Friday night, I mentioned a cold front coming by. I think the severe risk is low, but you still got that battle zone where you got the heat and the cool, and you could have some thunder, lightning, some strong wind gusts. Hopefully nothing like a couple of years ago, but that's something to be mindful of. Anytime it's really heating in the spring, severe weather can happen. So it's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, David, I appreciate it, good buddy.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
And, I watch you every day, and you do a great job.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Do you think that, or maybe I'm just getting old and I don't remember, but it seems that we have more thunderstorms in the cold months. It always, I remember that we had more thunderstorms in the warmer months and not in the winter season.
Right.
That box that we call the winter season.
Sure.
And now, you know, I remember over the weekend, was it Friday night? One night, I can't remember.
Oh, it was I think it was Thursday night. That
we had a lot of noise.
That clap of thunder about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes,
It woke
that's
everybody
the
up.
one. That is the one I'm speaking
So
of.
like a cannon fire.
Yes.
When you do have warm winters like this, your chance of having a thunderstorm are going to increase. Here in the southeast, we can have thunderstorms any given month of the year. But when it's really cold, when we tend to have what's a normal winter, you're not going to have many thunderstorms around. So when it's warm, those thunderstorms are going to pop every now and then.
It just has to do with the temperature,
Exactly.
not the calendar.
It's just a byproduct of that,
Right.
And so, you know, if you just look at the averages, like I did, the 5-year average there, if you look at stats and climatology, which goes back here to like the late 1850s, so we've got about 150 years of data to look at. you've had a back-to-back 2 warm winters. Stats say the third winter probably going to be a little bit colder. So I would say next year probably a little bit colder, which means fewer thunderstorms and more normal are how things should be. Now,
Right.
does it go back to back and on? The long range numbers are always up and down all the way through time.
So it's just a toss-up.
It is really, but it is interesting. We've had quite a bit of thunder boomers
Yes,
during winter.
which is just not normal.
You're right.
Because we know that it's winter and we don't normally think of having those.
Right. And there's a piece of folklore that says, the thunder roars in the winter, expect snow soon. And that folklore holds merit because I'm sure that was based on in the past when fronts came in and you had thunderstorms followed by snow. So it does have some
Some
facts
merit.
based in there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a little science every
Oh, sure.
in every nugget of
Things that
of
people
the-
observe,
right.
even without the science back in the day, the observations still hold true. Yeah,
without all the tools and
exactly.
things that you rely on to.
It's funny you mentioned that. There's one thing I always do, and people at the station can vouch for me on this one. You can look at everything electronically all day long. The radar, the satellite view, the computer models, everything. But before I go out, I always go look out the window. Because the eyes don't lie. You can see what's happening out there. The computer sometimes, like, is that real? Let's go look out the window.
That's where it's really happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we.
It's the best weather tool out there. The window and also a flagpole. Watch the way the flags are blowing.
Right,
It's
yeah.
one of those things. So
Some people don't know north from east or the.
that's true.
That's true.
That's true.
But if you know how you're oriented,
You can
your location.
you can make
is
some good
oriented.
weather assumptions by
Right.
doing that. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We're going to stop right here,
Okay.
give David a little break, and you get your next questions ready. When we come back from our break, from hearing from our sponsors, we'll take your questions, and we'll continue with David in the second half in just a few minutes.
We're on the air 24/7. A North Georgia taste of heaven. A fun place to be. And we're your family. UCTV.
For over 4 decades, your neighborhood ShopRite supermarkets have been the standard for quality and service. Locally owned means you'll find a smile on every aisle.
Best meat at the best prices. Farm fresh produce.
Weekly specials on a variety of products.
Get the ShopRite seal of approval. You can't shop wrong at ShopRite.
ShopRite this week, they have Boston butt pork roast, just right for wonderful barbecue. Only $1.29 a pound. They have Food Club pinto beans, dried beans, 69 cents a pound. Navel oranges, a 3-pound bag for $3.49. They also have frozen vegetables, mixed vegetables, corn, 89 cents for a 12-ounce package. And they have my favorite, ripe avocados, 99 cents. Fresh cooked ham steaks, $2.99 a pound. And sweet onions for 69 cents. They have a whole truckload of garden fresh produce and many other meat values, as well as other things in their store where they still take the groceries to the car for you. Can't beat that anywhere. Shop right in your local community.
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. The same rules apply to financial success. Saving money is the first step towards financial independence. And at the Bank of Lafayette, we have an investment account for every situation. How much you save is not nearly as important as establishing a regular pattern of saving and placing of your money aside in a safe and secure place. Whimsical thinking and immediate gratification can rob you of a financially secure future and a safe and comfortable retirement. At the Bank of Lafayette, we can help you choose an investment account that will help you reach your immediate, short-term, and long-term goals. The one rule that always applies across every economic timeline and condition: the sooner you begin saving, the faster your money will grow. Bank with confidence at the Bank of Lafayette, your hometown bank for more than 110 years. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
At the Rosewood Assisted Living and Memory Care, we have everything your senior could want in a safe, comfortable residence. Several levels of services include short-term housing for weekends or longer, assisted living where the staff provides a watchful eye while preserving your loved one's privacy and dignity, or independent living where residents are able to take care of themselves yet have access to all amenities and a sense of security. And the Rosewood on Battlefield Parkway specializes in memory care for patients of Alzheimer's or dementia. Call today for a tour of our campus.
MetaThrift Pharmacy, located at 324 West Patton Street in Lafayette, across from the ShopRite. MetaThrift Pharmacy provides prescription drugs, including compounded prescriptions. They also have diabetic supplies, including custom diabetic shoes. They have lift chairs, potty chairs, shower seats, and other durable medical equipment. MetaThrift Pharmacy in Lafayette has a friendly, well-trained staff that will help you with your drugstore needs, whether you're on the phone or in the store. You may also leave your refill request on their automated phone system, available 24 hours a day. Make them your choice for your pharmacy needs. MetaThrift Pharmacy, 706-638-3114.
We're on the air 24/7. A North Georgia taste of heaven. A fun place to be. And we're your family. You see TV.
We're back now. David Glenn, Chief Meteorologist at WTVC TV. Whew, that's a
It is.
a tongue twister. But David is with us. We're talking about the weather and other things, whether you're hot when it should be cold or cold when it should be hot.
Right.
But whatever it is, what you do, you just go on David's website and look and see what he says the weather's going to be, and whatever that is, you dress accordingly.
That's
right?
it. That's it. And I always say this, especially when we give our winter forecast every year, is regardless of what we say for a whole season, you know, the weather's going to do what it wants to do.
That's right.
Whether we like it or not, and whether it, you know, rains when you want an outdoor event, or it's cold when you want it to be warm. It's just, you have to respect that, and just weather's going to do what it does.
That's right. What you do, you just get up and say, "Thank you, God, that I got up today."
Exactly.
And you deal with all of the changes during the day. If it rains, you get your umbrella. If it's sunny, you get your sunglasses, and
Sure.
you just deal with it, whatever it is.
Right. And there's still, you know, I've been in this business 25 years, and I think the accuracies have really gone up through the years. There's still going to be a day. I'm not ashamed to say that. There's a day where you think, well, this is going to happen. You wake up the next day, well, that didn't happen, and nothing you can do about it. It's out of your control.
Do we always know what's going to happen every day?
We don't
I
always
don't
know.
think so.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think so. We shouldn't. 7712, go ahead.
I was late turning you on. Would he please repeat what he said March is going to be like?
Oh, yeah. I'll be glad to. We were briefly talking about past Marches after warm Februarys. That doesn't mean they all follow this, but it was really interesting how when I looked at the past few warm Februarys were followed by some pretty chilly Marches. So if I can, you know, you talk about a crystal ball, we can look ahead to trends in the first couple of weeks of March, and it's very interesting, is that it shows a very volatile up and down pattern the first week of March, which suggests that things will be closer to normal. And with that said, normal to us is going to feel cold. So I would say that once we get into the first part of March, especially, the chances of a chill, chances of temperatures near freezing are going to come back. We're not totally out of the woods yet. So I would look for, again, a typical weird March that is going to have a volatile pattern where it's warm a few days, but the chances for a frost or freeze are still there, are probably going to happen. As far as snowfall, there's no way to know that. I don't see anything yet for the next week or two. But with that said, and we're just put 93 aside, there's been many other times we've had little bitty snowfalls here and there in March. It tends to happen. So March is just one of those 4-season months. It's the weirdest month of the year. It's one of the months that, winter's one you always got to be ready for anything, but March is really one of those you got to be ready for anything any given day. So
any time of the day.
Any time, yeah. So
yes.
I expect it to be quite changeable, and it's simply because it returns to normal, it's going to feel colder to us. So there'll be warm days also.
And we can't put away our clothes. That's the thing.
Right.
It used to be that we had a winter closet.
Sure.
Or clothes, not a winter closet, but clothes in your closet that were deemed to be winter clothes. And now, we don't have on wool.
Exactly.
You're not wearing.
The sleeves are up.
Your sleeves are up. Mine are pushed up when they stay up. And so we're dressing differently.
Right.
Our clothes are not the same as what we used to call winter clothes. But there are a few days
you're going to need it. Yeah.
We choose those things that we call winter clothes.
Sure. My wife said, "Can we put all these coats up yet?" I went, No, not yet.
So it is different in that we do have to have more choices.
Sure. More layers.
I think. Yes. 7712, go ahead.
Good morning, David and Helen.
Good morning.
David, how long have you been at Channel 9?
I've been there just a little bit over 10 years.
Okay,
So,
I used to live in West Palm Beach, and I listened to you down there.
okay. I was down in the Pensacola, Mobile area for about almost 9 years, from late 90s to the early 2000s. So, yeah, I took about a 9-year vacation. Yeah, working down there.
I'm sorry, you were just as good down there as you are.
I appreciate that. You're sweet.
All right, goodbye.
Good to see you.
Thank you for your call.
Yeah, that was interesting living down there because, I got to experience quite a few hurricanes down there.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different climate than here. What I do remember about this is that someone said, "Yeah, you better get ready for humidity." And so I'm thinking, well, yeah, it's humid here in the summer. You get down on the Gulf Coast here, it's humid about 10 months out of the year, and the humidity is exponentially another beast altogether. We have our humid days here, but none of them yet, my 10 years back, have topped what was going on down there, like a steam bath.
So, and that was another thing to get used to.
Oh, absolutely.
Really.
Yeah. And the hurricanes also. We went through Ivan, Katrina, Dennis, Hurricane Cindy, 3 majors in a calendar year. So from one September to the next. So we went through quite a bit down there. So I'm glad to be back home inland.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back where I grew up.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, we have a little bit of everything.
Oh, we
here.
do.
We really do.
Yes, we do.
In this area, we have a little bit of everything, I think.
Yeah. We were talking about how things come full circle and you go in patterns. And we talked about how we can remember some snows in March, some snows in April. And I've said that if something happens, it's going to happen again. And we go back to 2011 with the, horrific day of tornadoes we had around here.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, I'm now 50, but at that time in 2011, I was in mid-40s. It was a day like that in 1974 that got me interested in weather in the first place.
Really?
Yeah, we had what was known as a super outbreak of tornadoes. I was living here in Chickamauga. and there were tornadoes going on everywhere. It's in the first week of April, 1974. That was forever known as the super outbreak in the history books. Now that's been replaced by what happened in 2011, but that was about a 40-year difference in patterns. And so, again, the outbreak of 74 came back in 2011, so to speak, as far as a major outbreak, and chances of that happening could happen again somewhere down the line. So it's one of those cases where when we had those tornadoes, it's like, wow, we haven't had any tornadoes in a long time. Is this something new? And if you go back and look at your history, no, it's really not anything new. We've always been in that zone. It's just that sometimes it rears its ugly head more than others. Yeah. So it's kind of flows in cycles there.
Yes, and we all remember that.
Oh.
We all
terribly
remember and respect that.
Oh, absolutely.
Day.
Yeah.
And remember exactly where you were during the day
That's
day,
right.
before it ever happened.
It's amazing technology change. I think back to that day in 74. It made me so scared of weather that I wanted to learn more about it. But in that day, you didn't have, like for us in 2011, we're on the air the whole time with radar views, satellite views, and people are able to track it down to the street. In 1974, you would have just a voice break in on TV and tell you there's a tornado warning for Walker County.
You're right.
And they go off the air. And as a kid at home by myself, I'm going, what? What does that mean? What do I do? There's no way to track it. So 40 years was a huge difference. And as each year goes by and each set of decades goes by, our technology is going to be even better.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me, the grids, and it's moved from this street to this street.
Yeah.
And it's now in this, community, and it's going to be in this community in 14 minutes.
Right.
To me, that's just amazing.
It's amazing.
It really
and
is.
It's only going to get better. We still don't know everything about tornadoes yet. There's so much we don't know. But with tracking and better satellite data coming in, I mean, it's only going to get better as each year and each set of years goes by. So long after I retire, and the kids coming up in the field now, it's going to be even better. They're going to look at what we did as archaic compared to how they're going to be able to track it. So that's something good to know, is that it's going to be a lot better.
And that can only save lives.
Yes, it can.
And property, and or I don't know how much property, but especially lives.
Sure, and building more sustainable buildings to that type of event. But 1 minute extra warning can make all the difference in the world. Yeah.
7646, go ahead.
Yes, we got a star in town.
We do.
But I can relate to what you was talking about, that humidity. I call my dad every morning. He lived down in Fairhope down there.
Oh, yeah, Fairhope's beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
And his wife grew up there. Anyhow, he's been down there, I guess, 15 years or so. And every morning I talk to him, he says, you have to have scuba gear to live down here in this humidity.
It's air you can wear. Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
But yeah, I just hadn't really got anything. I just was really relating to it, what you were saying. And he says he would just give anything to get back up here.
Right.
And get out of that because of the humidity and all. But you have a great day, and we'll be talking to you.
Well, maybe he can convince his wife that she needs to move back to North Georgia.
Well, what I think right now what it is her dad, they've lived down there all their life. He's 97.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My dad takes care of him, comes over and feeds him and stuff there in the mornings, and it's just kind of thing but I think once that he's gone, I don't think that there's nothing going to be holding them back. They do miss this area because of course, like you said, the hurricanes and stuff. They've been through a few, but really the humidity, he says, is just horrible. And we've been down to visit. It's a place that is nice to visit, but this is my home here too.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a beautiful town, though. It is.
Fairhope is beautiful. Yeah, and it's one of those places where you visit there and think, I could stay here. And but you're right. It's if you're not used to that climate, it's something to get used to. If you're used to, like us, all of us growing up with four seasons, you got to get used to it. Yeah.
Well, we watch you all the time, and really enjoy you.
Thank you.
And enjoy these local channels too. And y'all have a great day today, and thank you.
You do the
You too.
same, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Fairhope's a beautiful area,
It
but it's
is.
right there on the central part of Mobile Bay. So,
yeah, so-
if you get a windless day, it's just humid the whole time. It's beautiful, but it's humid.
Yeah. So, I think we live in a beautiful part.
Oh, I
of
think
this,
we do too. Yeah.
I think we live in a beautiful part of the world, and
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to come back.
That's
So
right.
I'm where I want to
So-
be and very happy. So,
so you're
it's-
okay.
Yeah.
So, what's summer going to be like, David?
Summer.
Oh,
Okay.
see, are we going to have rain?
I think
that's
we
what I think.
are. I
wanna
don't
know.
think-
Are we going to have rain?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to go through like we went last summer.
Great.
We talk about the El Nino, La Nina patterns, and I'll start. The El Nino pattern is something that's gone on for centuries, but only in the past decades have we understood that a warming of the Pacific waters off the South American coastline has global impacts. So that's been going on for centuries. They knew the fishing's always good during El Nino on the coast of South America. But we know that El Ninos can tend to provide the southeast U.S. with rain. On the flip side, when it's cooler in the Pacific off the South American coast, fishing's not as good. And for us, it tends to be drier. Well, we went through a big La Nina in 2015, had a lot of rain. In 2016, it just shut off. Went through a very strong La Nina, very dry. The long-range patterns are very favorable for us to go back into a very weak El Nino. Not a super one, but if we can at least get that pattern, it means that I think as we head into summer, I think we're going to get our normal rainfall back.
Oh, that would be a blessing.
It'll be a muggier summer. We were just talking about humidity, but that's okay
That's
because
all
we
right.
need it for the ground moisture. We didn't have
That's
the ground moisture last year, and it was dry, hot. I think this summer is going to be a little bit more favorable to us.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
All right. 7712, go ahead with your question.
Hey, David, it's so good to see you.
No, we have a 7712. Are you on?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead.
There we go.
I said, hello, David. It's so good to see
Okay.
you.
We had somebody on 7712. They must have hung up. So, I mean,
No, I'm 771.
There we
okay.
go.
All right. I've got them mixed
It was
up.
down
I'm
a little
sorry.
bit.
Go
There
ahead.
we go.
Go ahead.
You got me clear now, Helen?
I got you clear, dear.
Okay. David, it's good to see you.
Yeah. Thanks for calling.
I wanted to ask you about El Nino.
Yeah.
I listened to weather just about all my life, and that seems to be a fairly new term. Just in recent years, we've been hearing that term. Can you explain to me what in the world is El Nino?
Sure, yeah.
I can't say it now, El Nino.
Right.
And La Nina.
Yeah, I was kind of broad brushing the topic there, but and that's what I wanted to say is that it is something new as far as you hearing on the news. I think it really became a buzzword on the national news media around the early 1990s. But the El Nino La Nina pattern has been around for centuries. There's nothing new about it. The only thing new about it is that what used to be thought of as just a regional South American Pacific coast warming and cooling, which is sort of it's a natural occurrence. That's just a natural phase that tends to happen in the Pacific. But we found out thanks to satellite data, which our satellite data only dates back to the 1970s. So only in the past 50 years have we understood that regional heating and cooling naturally of the Pacific has global implications. So now you'll always hear everyone, well, blame El Nino or blame La Nina. And if you go back to last year with it being so warm, it was La Nina pattern. It was the cooling of the Pacific, which tends to lead to drier than average weather in the southeast. So you're hearing more of it simply because now you've got 24-hour networks, 24-hour weather networks, and so you're going to hear it more often. And another term that gets thrown out there is polar vortex. How many times have you heard polar vortex the past few years?
Yes.
Again, not a new term. It's the polar vortex is always there. It's just that pieces of it come down and we get cold. We used to call that the Arctic Express. Remember in the 70s and 80s? Oh, it's that Arctic Express coming down. Well, someone just took the textbook term of it, polar vortex, and it sounded scarier, and rolled with it. And now it's just become, it's the polar vortex visiting again, but it's nothing new. These are just older terms that I've known in meteorology for years. But it's just something that when it hits Main Street USA as a term. It sounds new. It sounds it can sound scary, sometimes. But again, the El Nino La Nina you're going to hear quite often, because now we know that there are more global regional implications of each phase that it goes through. And in this case, as I mentioned, for the summer, we're going to go into a very weak El Nino. So you'll start hearing more about that to the summer, but it's going to be a good thing because we need some rain.
Yes,
we do. And I think it's going to keep us closer to normal for the summer.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
Good question.
All right.
You answered exactly what I wanted to know. If it was something new that had happened,
Yeah.
or something meteorologists have known for a long time and just didn't put out on the air.
Right.
Okay. And I think that answered all my questions, and I appreciate you very
Sure
much.
thing. Sure.
Thank you for
And
calling.
I watch you all the time.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good question.
It is.
I get asked that a lot. People ask if there are these new phrases, and
Sometimes they just get
repackaged and put back out
and
there.
it sounds new, it sounds
It
good
does.
and exciting.
It gets
I
their
think
attention.
I cut the caller off that was on 7646. Go ahead.
Oh, there we go.
The fog here in this area is different than when I lived in Florida.
Wait just a minute. Now, go ahead.
When I lived in Florida,
Yes.
the fog was different down there than it is here. When it gets hot, it burns off.
It does.
Here, it seems to linger all day.
Right.
And so could you talk about the difference of it?
Absolutely, and a lot of it has to do with our topography, with ridges and mountains. The other thing has to do with the sun angle. Especially in Florida, you have a higher sun angle. It's a relatively flat surface. You've got the land and you've got the water. So once the land starts heating and the thermals go up, that fog layer breaks away. It kind of pushes back out to the water. And you probably had a lot more fog in the winter time. Every morning it'd be kind of a milky white sky, then it would just burn on off. But here, the problem is we have differential heating because we got the landmass in the valley and the landmass up above on the mountaintop. Well, for example, during a typical day, the valley heats, the higher elevations tend to be a little cooler. At night, as the heat is lost, all the cool air up above goes down to the valley. It cools, creates the fog layer. So if you go along the mountaintops early in the morning, you can look down over a sea of fog. Well, when this time of year, our sun angles are very low. In the summertime, the sun angle's here. It's up above, it's overhead. Right now, it's still kind of a tilted angle, so it's barely heating the surface enough. So oftentimes, it'll burn away the fog in the valley a little bit, and then it'll just the layer will rise and kind of just rest on the mountaintop. So the folks on Lookout, Signal, Raccoon, they're stuck in a fog all day long. But as we go deeper into the season, March, April, that sun angle is higher and higher, and for us, it'll start burning it away more. But in Florida, because you're so far south, the sun angle, even in its low time, is strong enough to heat the surface and what we call burn away or evaporate the fog. But that's a good observation you had. It's distinctly different from a coastal climate to here.
When I lived in Florida, about 10 o'clock it burned off.
Exactly, you can count on it, yeah.
And then here, it seems to linger half the day or more.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, okay, well, I'll hang up this. And,
Sure.
Thanks for your answer.
Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, some winter weeks, we can go 4 days with fog
It's like
continuously.
Never goes completely away.
Never
it
does.
seems.
Yeah.
And I live in a valley, so
Oh, yeah.
sometimes
Can
you
happen.
can't see the end of the driveway.
That's true.
7712, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Do all tornadoes turn counterclockwise?
The spin of the tornado is counterclockwise. Yeah.
Why do all of them turn that way?
Well, it's known as the Coriolis effect also, where north and south of the equator, here things for low pressure are going to deflect to the right. So you're going counterclockwise to the left in the southern hemisphere. It has to do with the curvature of the Earth. Has a lot to do with the natural spin. There's the heating of the atmosphere. There's the natural spin because you are on an oblate spheroid. That is the Earth. So the low pressure spins. We see broad low pressures like we have today that's causing the rain that's over an entire region. Then you got these very, very small micro low pressures. In this case, will be a tornado. Same spin, but it's a tighter spin like a top spinning in that same direction counterclockwise. High pressure spin clockwise, low pressure is counterclockwise.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Yeah.
I've always wondered that.
And you know, the water goes down the drain,
Right,
turning
right,
one
different.
direction above the
the equator to south of the
and
equator.
another way south of the equator.
That's
Did
right.
you know that?
I hadn't really paid any attention.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
all because of the curvature of the Earth.
Right.
The Coriolis effect.
All right, I've enjoyed it.
Sure, thanks
Thank
for
you.
calling.
Appreciate your call. All right. Good questions.
Yeah, very good questions. Yeah. Yeah.
Good answers too. I mean, when things are moving, it's hard to tell what direction. I mean, you just know you need to respond to the whatever the
Right.
the
Oh, absolutely.
tornado or whatever it is, and move away from that. And,
Absolutely.
And get into
And-
safety and.
And I want to urge folks that now, because now we're heading into severe weather
Right.
season. We're kind of already been there. February kind of starts it off, and but you know, we brought up 2011 and the storms. It's worth reminding of those to remember what you're doing, how you're prepared, the damage you saw. Use that as something as a springboard to stay safe during the seasons ahead. Think about a plan you have in your house that your kids know. Think of your safe place you're going to go in your house. If you need to have a safe room built, be sure you're getting weather alerts, whether it's via phone app. But if there's severe weather and the cell towers go down, you need a weather alert radio, which works on battery power. So you can get alerts that way. So be sure you're getting a message that way, and stay aware. And we'll do the best we can to keep you up to date all season long.
And do that before the day off. because
That's exactly right.
You don't ever know when the day off might be.
That's right. Boy Scout motto, be prepared.
That's right.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's
Helen. I
been a
appreciate it.
wonderful hour. It's gone by so quickly, and we appreciate David taking his time to come to North Georgia and share with us, and we hope you'll come back again.
Oh, thank you.
We'll have to have the next class on
That'll be
updating us
fine.
on the weather.
I'd be glad to.
It's been a great day.
Yeah.
And we hope you'll be back again for what women and men need to know, because we all need to know these things. Thank
Yes,
you,
we do.
David.
Thank you.